Mic check. Happy Wednesday, people.
Hello.
Welcome to the Kris and Gina Relationship Show. I'm Kris. This is Gina.
Hi.
Hello, Gina. Happy Wednesday to you.
And to you. Happy Hump Day. What day is it? I
Hump
can't wait.
Day.
I can't wait to know what day it is.
I see you drinking apple juice. Good for you.
I am drinking so much apple juice right now, courtesy of my...
I haven't seen you in a week. How has, while we wait on a few people to chime in, how has your week been?
It's been good. It's been weird. Like work has been kind of busy.
Really?
Yeah, which is okay.
If anyone's concerned, I got my well wishers on social media. My thumb is doing okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have his big bandage
I
on
am
anymore.
still detoxing. No meat, no dairy, no beef, no fish, no chicken.
No fun.
No fun. No alcohol. Alkaline water. For another 11 days. I'm almost at the halfway point. I am a fit and trim 7.5 pounds down. But that's not why you came here. Today's show. Oh, you know what? I forgot to let people know what national day it is.
That's what I was asking. What day? I'm always excited to know what day it is.
It's National Pet Obesity Day. That's a thing.
Are we advocating for this, or is it? What's the problem?
It's National Coming Out Day.
Okay.
For the alphabet folks.
None of that.
Shout out to the
Man,
alphabet.
come out.
Not. It's
I'm coming out as married today. That's what I'm doing.
Gina B is on week what of marriage?
I'm
3?
You know what? Okay, so October 11th, it was September 16th. So I'm 5 days short of my month anniversary.
Oh, look at you.
Not that I'm not going to be one of those people.
Sure you're
start
not.
that way.
She's
I'm not
definitely
that
one of those people.
person. I'm not going to be like, ooh, I'm
It's
married tomorrow.
it's National Stop Bullying Day.
I like that.
And my favorite, it is National Spread Joy Day.
National Spread
Joy Day.
Okay.
So today's topic, folks, is he stringing you along? I love doing that. I don't know why. Have you ever been strung up? We do have a guest, and we'll bring her in momentarily. We're having some camera difficulties here.
Yeah, I'm like, we do have a really great guest, actually.
We have a great guest.
And usually, okay, so let me just give you my first theory on
Right.
this.
While you do that, I got a note for our producer. Hey, Ron, can you tilt that back a little bit? Because it sort of bumped and we sort of shook. And
Yeah.
we like being in the middle. Okay, people, sorry about that. It's a lot going on here.
Chris is OCD.
Very much so. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Anyway, my theory on this topic is usually if you have to ask, then probably.
Well,
but
sometimes it could be.
But yes.
Have you ever been strung along?
I think I've done more stringing.
Wow. I can tell you, men are usually, and I know I don't say this often, men are more at fault for doing this because we are risk averse.
Right.
You know, so it's a bad thing. And
It is. And some people, you know what? Listen, some people are very good at it, and so I see a lot of people who are like people who you would not think that would get strung along because they're dealing with diabolical people.
Well, it's not always that. Sometimes people string people along without malintent. But
That's true.
But it's whatever the case. If you, and I'll give some. I got some tips at the end.
Yes, but we have a guest. And,
Let's bring in our guest.
Okay, let's bring our guest who was in for a second.
Where's our guest? Studio pause. We're bringing our guest in.
And we've got major feedback too.
Thought we were bringing her in.
We thought we were bringing her in. Okay,
We have a guest at some point.
it's the view, Ron. There we go.
There she is.
And we've got mad feedback.
We do have some feedback.
Freya, do you have anything on? In
Freya,
the
can you
background?
turn stuff down a little bit?
We hear it sounds like a washing machine behind you.
Freya, can you turn your volume down slightly? Can you hear us?
I don't know if she can hear us.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Anyone know sign language? Okay.
Okay,
Can you hear us?
I think that works. Yes, I can now.
All right. If beautiful. Because I was like, Gina, you got anything else up your sleeve for us?
I know, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Freya Gee.
Mrs. Freya Gee.
Mrs.
That's exactly right.
Make sure
MRS. thank you for joining the show. We do appreciate you having us.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And your story, Gina B, why don't you tell folks why this is such a beautiful story and why we're talking about it? And in a few minutes, we're going to pepper you with questions.
Of course.
With those. Admittedly, I've been strung along before.
Have you?
I've done some stringing.
You've done some stringing.
I've done some stringing. I've been strung along. It's not a good feeling either way. But this is a story that I think has a happy ending that men and women can look forward to hearing about. So there's some feedback on your end, though. Can you turn something down?
Do you have anything on in the background, Freya? What is going on? We have a really terrible connection.
Me?
Yeah, we're having a really
Nothing.
bad connection. There's something in the back. Nothing.
What do you hear?
We need our producer. Can you bring Brian? Yeah.
We're gonna get.
Okay, so I'll tell you how. But just be careful of the camera. I'll tell you how I was introduced to Freya's story, since we have technical difficulties on her side that we're going to try and fix in just 2 seconds.
Right.
So,
bear with us.
Freya and I are Facebook friends, and a little while ago, like a couple years ago probably, I saw these beautiful pictures of her wedding and getting married and all this other stuff, and I was like, oh, how cute, she's got her man, she got married, this is very beautiful. And then when we were talking about this show, we were getting this topic together, and we put out like a little post that says, hey, have you been strung along? Someone promised you a pot of gold and it was really a pile of crap, like what? And so Freya surprisingly chimed in and said, oh yeah, I was strung along for 15 years. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, can we talk to you about this? And so she very happily agreed to be on the show. And then she pointed me in the direction of this beautiful post that she'd written about the whole story, and we read it.
And shout out to you. Matters of the heart can be very difficult to express, to share, especially publicly. And you put out a lot of detail.
Yes. Wait to get into as soon as we get our technical difficulties straight.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're working on this.
We are working on our side to make sure that we're able to completely hear you, because this is a great story. We want to make sure that we get it all.
Awesome.
But we can ask some basic questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as she can respond. I don't know if she can hear us.
Can you tell?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay,
cool.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Well, Gina, you can start.
Okay. First of all, can you tell us, now you told, this is what you shared with us, that you'd been strung along for 15 years. Now explain.
Say that, you said that way too fast.
Okay.
15 years, people.
15 years.
15 years.
15 times 365 days.
So even before you say anything, Freya, I'm looking at you like.
Well, I'm sure it happened gradually. 15. So let's talk about how the relationship started.
Well, the relationship started when I was 23 years old, so start there. I was very young.
That's one problem, right? It's like,
yeah.
You're young.
The next thing is my mom had just passed away. She had been ill, but she passed away while I was in law school. And about 2 weeks later, I met this guy on a boat ride. I'll call him Rio, like I call him in my post. That's not his name, but I'll call him that. And I met him on a boat ride. And, honestly, as I look back on it, I think that I just was sort of trauma bonded to him. Like,
I'm sorry. You said you were what to him?
Trauma bonded.
Sort of trauma bonded to him.
Got it. Oh, okay. After
he was the one who was there for me. I would have dreams about my mom every night, and I would wake up I would have dreams that she was alive. And I would wake up and realize that she wasn't alive, and it would just destroy me on a daily basis. It was like she was passing every single day, and it was horrible. And he was there for me during that time. And I think that kind of bonded me to him out of my own trauma. I was bonded to him, and, also all of the other things that I was doing at that time, having premarital sex and all those things. And those things kind of bonded me to him. So over the course of a 15-year period, we went on and off. It wasn't a constant on, but it was mostly on. And, it was like I just couldn't get rid of him. I was soul tied to him.
Now,
So,
can we
and
back
I
up
had
for a second?
very low self-esteem at the time. I had very high confidence. So anyone who, looked at me, oh yeah, Freya, she feels great about herself. She's so confident. She carries herself in such a confident manner. And I did, but my self-esteem didn't match my confidence. It wasn't true confidence. It was sort of faked, I guess,
Now,
so
let's
that
back
you
up for a
should
second.
look at me sideways.
Right. Where
But
did you
I did
meet
not
him?
have it together.
Where did you meet Rio?
I met him on a boat ride in
That's what you
Washington.
said, boat ride.
DC.
Okay. In DC.
Yeah.
Okay. It was in DC. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
can you tell what was going on in the relationship where you knew that this wasn't going where you needed it to be? Like, was he a good guy? Was he taking you out? Were you doing things? Were you happy? Like,
He would take me out all the time. Yeah, that was never an issue. He was very kind to me. And like I said, he was very supportive when it came to the mourning that I was in very deep mourning. I was really young when my mom passed away. I just wasn't ready for that. And he was very supportive when it came to that in terms of helping me not move past it because you never really get over it, but just helping me to sort of acclimate myself to my new life without her.
got it. Well, that was kind, and so I can see why you probably sort of leaned on him a little more.
I did. I absolutely did.
Not that anyone gets over that. I think we sort of learn to cope, with a parent passing away.
Yeah.
But as you learned how to cope, did you want to marry this person? Was that in your mind?
Absolutely, it was. And initially,
was that something you all discussed? Because when people say,
yeah.
I'm just trying to get some facts out here. What you wanted to be married, and it was discussed.
Totally fair. Yes, it was discussed within the first years. My plan, when I was young, when I was in school.
No, we always have a plan. It's good to have a plan. Person with no plan is going nowhere.
My plan was to be married by 26 years old and to have 3 children, right?
Smart woman.
And of course, I started talking to him about that very early on. And well, not very early on, but I'd say within the first 2 years. About 2 years in, we talked about it, right? So there's so much more backstory, and I'm not going to bore you with that because it's not boring, but it's not the topic of this conversation. But
I'm going to get to some juicy questions in a minute. Make no mistake.
Yeah. So they're like unrelated things that sort of came into play there. But ultimately, I did talk to him about marriage, and he said at that time, well, at first he said, "I don't want to get married." Well, my immediate response was, "Oh, okay, well, cool. So we're going to break up, and that's going to," and so then he started.
Now how long, when did that happen? Where are we at in this 15?
That was about 2 years in. About 2 years in, we had seen each other. And immediately I was like, okay, so we have to break up. Like, there's not really much for us to do because I want to be married. And he immediately started backing off of that and saying, well, I don't want to get married, but I would marry you. And so I had a really hard time understanding that, but I had some friends who, I guess their self-esteem really wasn't what it should be either. And so they're telling me, well, I understand. And, as long as he's going to marry you. And I listened to that foolishness, and I should have just.
Yeah, that was some eloquently stated pile of horse manure. Absolutely. Is what it was.
It absolutely was. And I should listen to myself and said, okay, well, you don't want to get married, and that's it, and been done with it. But no, I couldn't do that. And so we kind of went, there was a tug back and forth, until eventually I said, I sort of gave him an ultimatum. Sort of. What I said was, we should start to see other people because it felt like I couldn't get away from him. And that's because I was soul tied to him, right? And so when I finally realized I couldn't get away from him, I didn't know it was a soul tie at that time. I said, okay, you know what? Let's see other people. I'm not going to lie to myself and try to pretend like I'm not going to see you too, but let's just see other people as well. He didn't like that.
Right. I was just saying, I'm sure he didn't like that, right?
Not at all. He proposed marriage within probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
But it was all a game. It was all BS.
What, did he propose wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did he propose? Was there a ring? Did he drop down to one knee and put one hey, will you be Bob? Did he do that?
He proposed to me in the bed.
Okay.
With a ring, but it was a cubic zirconia.
Did you know that?
Yeah, he told me. I mean, it was huge. And he had 3 of them.
What?
He had bought 3 rings, and he claimed that he bought 3 rings because he didn't know whether I would like any of them, and he just wanted to give me something that I liked. Now, mind you, his mom was in town at the same time as I was, and so she was already there. And I asked him, "Well, did you tell her that you were going to propose to me?" He said no.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of red flags that
let me ask you a question.
Get into them now.
Is your father in your life?
Not anymore. He's not. He was at that time.
Okay.
But that's a whole separate story.
Okay, so basically, what I was curious if he had a conversation with your dad.
I did, and he
no. Yeah, she's asking, did he? This?
No.
Oh, okay.
Like, you mean, did he ask for my dad's hand? And no,
right.
He didn't ask for my hand.
Not your dad's hand, but your hand.
But your
anyway.
He did not ask for my hand.
So when this proposal happened, what did you say?
I felt insecure inside.
What did you say?
Yes.
You said yes.
You said yes.
I said yes.
Okay. Did you all start planning a wedding?
Yes.
Okay.
I started planning a wedding.
Okay.
He didn't start planning anything.
And what year are we at right now? When
that was
estimated
approximately 2001.
No. I mean, how many years into your relationship?
Oh, about 5.
All
okay,
right.
5 years. Okay.
Give me the quick version, because I want to go through how you got through this. That's year 5. How did you stay in this 10 more years?
Well, at some point, I caught him cheating on me.
I was going to ask his infidelity.
Him, and then we ended up getting back together somehow or another. I don't understand. I look back at this and I'm like, oh, you're so stupid.
Well, no. Make no mistake. I've done very dumb things in my life. I am happily married now, but you are human is all that this says.
It's a journey.
So we're talking about it, it's your movie right now, but it's not bad. This is life.
There's no judgment. It just is what it is.
Thank you.
And thank you again for sharing. So, wow. So there was infidelity. Now, did you stay faithful to this man?
I did not.
Okay, good.
I was at that time.
I'm like this. I normally wouldn't say this on a relationship show, but I'm like, good for you.
Get as good as he get, Kris.
Not good advice, but I just don't like. I don't know him. I'm sure he's a nice guy. You with around 15 years, but I don't like what I'm hearing about.
Yeah.
And this is a common thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the story of so when did it begin to deconstruct and when did you know we're done here?
When I started working on my self-esteem.
Okay. And what does that look like? What kind of work did you do?
Well, first of all, I came to the realization, he had asked me several times during the relationship whether I had ever been molested. And he asked me that because he recognized some of the signs of it, but I didn't know anything. Well, I had suppressed everything. And then when I got to be 35, the memories started coming back to me. Being molested quite a bit. And I ended up developing PTSD, and I ended up going into really intense therapy, like really super intense therapy. I had to deal with my PTSD. I couldn't work. I couldn't focus. It was just, I was having waking nightmares. It was awful.
Now,
So I went into therapy to deal with it, and that's when things sort of started to unravel.
was the trauma singularly related to your horrible past? And I'm sorry you had to go through that, or was that trauma coupled with your life wasn't going where it needed to be?
It was coupled just with my past. It didn't have anything to do with the effects of the current. That it was all past.
Well, good for you for going to therapy. I am a believer that all of Black America, men and women, should go to some form of therapy. Period.
Self-care.
For whatever reason, especially having doing this show, I see it, all the time. So good for you. So what came out of that therapy? What resolve did you have? Like, I'm trying to pull out, what you possibly could lend to other women or men going through something similar.
Well, things really started to unravel when I started in therapy. I learned how to set boundaries. I had never been able to set them as a child, so I didn't really understand what they were. And so when I figured that out, I started to set boundaries, and things between us started to unravel because now I'm setting up boundaries and I'm not allowing you to just do whatever you want to do. And I'm not just believing whatever it is you say. I'm paying attention to what it is you're doing as well as what you're saying. And many times I found that those two things didn't match. That would cause a lot of conflict between us. And then, things slowly, it actually wasn't that slow. At that point, things started to unravel probably over the course of about 6 months, maybe. And then once we broke up that time, that's when I asked God to come in and break that soul tie. And he came in, broke that soul tie. So the soul tie was broken. I was working on my self-esteem. The self-esteem caused me to set boundaries, and then things just kind of unraveled from there. And I never looked back. Not from a relationship standpoint. We stayed in touch at that point. In fact, I even lived with him for some time after that, but nothing was going on when I lived with him.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, okay, so now how long did you live together while you were together?
Never. We never.
Oh, you never did. Okay, never. But you did live with him when it was over?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. So you were roommates?
We were roommates. And what was funny about it was that really is what let me know I'm really over him. Like, I could recognize him as an attractive man, but I was no longer attracted to him.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, that's a twist.
You've used the term, and this is for folks who listening or might view this later, soul tie. When you say that, what's your definition of that?
I think a simple way of looking at it is somebody you can't freaking get away from. Okay. Like, no matter what you do, you always keep going back to this person, no matter how badly they've treated you, no matter what they've done, no matter how many times they've cheated on you, you just keep going back. It's like you can't escape. It feels like you're a prisoner in some ways.
I tell people it takes almost a year to break up with somebody, especially if you live with them. You can never break up. Well, not you, Gina. Not you.
Can bounce
world record holder.
Oh, no. So we got to a place where you've done your work, you've worked on your self-esteem, and you guys, now how did you move? When did you move out?
Oh, I moved out in 2014.
2014. So you're out. 2015. So you've got a fresh start, and you've got self-esteem, and you're like, I'm young, I'm cute, I got self-esteem, and I can still, find someone new to move forward with.
Yeah, I want to know what you did differently, because you went to therapy. Well, you said intense treatment, but that's what I want to hear. I read on your profile that you went celibate for a while. This is where you got to drop the nuggets to the rest of the world out here who've gone through that. You come out. what did you do to land this wonderful dude that I saw on your wedding video?
With a space and time of, how'd you find him and what'd you do?
There you go.
But I want to know how you endured that 12 years. So let's talk about that.
Okay, cool. We gave you a lot.
I know.
The main thing I did differently after he and I stopped dating, I closed.
I heard you faded out a bit.
Of course, you got the best part.
At the best part, you faded out a bit. You closed what?
Her legs, apparently.
My legs.
Wait a minute. I've said this on this show many times. Wait a minute. She. The best thing you did was close your what?
Close my legs.
Okay, I just want that to be on the record. Because I've said that before and got just lambasted by the feminati. Whole different story.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Anyway, so you closed your legs.
A huge difference. I closed my legs and I got honest about the things that I really wanted. And I stopped wasting a bunch of time with people. So I ran into a bunch of men. I dated a lot of men. And I'd say that 8 or 99% of them did not believe me when I told them I was celibate. They said they were okay with it, and then they would try me.
They found out, didn't
they? Until I showed them.
Right.
And then they get mad. So it's
but then you see, and I say this out, it's a way to find out if people like you or what they're getting from you.
Right.
Yes.
And we're in a culture today that says differently. So I'm imagining these guys were probably expecting, to sleep with you after a while, even after you told them.
Yes, they were. And I didn't realize that. So when they said they were okay with it, I would believe them. But then also, I had to take some responsibility at some point. And here's the difference, the change that I made between dating those guys and dating my husband. I realized at some point that I was basically repeating the same circumstance. I'm getting with a guy, I'm realizing that he says he believes me, he says he's okay with it, but he isn't really, and he's gonna try to talk me out of my panties, right? So, then you get mad when he couldn't talk me out of my panties. So I realized at some point that I had to take accountability for setting myself up in circumstances but in which he might think he could slow walk me down the road to sex. So I stopped staying over. I stopped staying late. You can't come stay at my house. We're not going to be doing, a bunch of petting. I'm not doing that stuff. And I had to shut that down. Once I shut that down, I just sort of randomly ran into my husband. I met him on Facebook. And when we met, we weren't even meeting on a romantic tip. It wasn't Facebook dating because I wasn't even on that app. Neither of us were. We just met in a travel group. And then I happened to be in LA. He had said, we had been chatting, but again, not about anything romantic. It was just like meeting somebody cool from Facebook. Like if I came to Chicago, I'd be like, oh, hey, Gina, let's meet up, right?
Right.
But that is, I just got to say, if I'm a single woman, a travel group is a great group to be in.
Yeah.
Because if a man is traveling, he's usually gainfully employed.
Yeah.
Good for you.
He can at least afford a flight.
Good for
I
you.
know that's much.
All right. Okay. I just love that you was like, oh, we weren't dating. It was just a travel group. It was, I love it. So good. Good for you.
Good, honest meat. Okay. Anyway, so.
Good honest meat.
Yes. So now, what was different about your husband?
Tell us about this man.
About the man.
About this man.
So before I ever met him in person, I hadn't blocked his Facebook page, but I would see his posts coming through the feed. He would say some things that were kind of unpopular. People didn't like the things that he was saying, but I knew that he was coming from a place of honesty and integrity. So I already knew that he was an honest person before I ever met him in person. And our conversation, he's super intelligent. I always said I could never marry a man who wasn't at least as intelligent as I am, if not more. And so our conversation just flowed. We had very similar values and things we just got along. It just was so obvious. I never understood that whole when you know until I met him. And then
Good
it
for
was
you.
very clear. Oh, that's what they mean. I get it.
Now,
So
was there
we were compatible.
Now,
No.
you about to ask, was there some attraction?
no, I was going to
'Cause
ask,
I'm
was
going
there
there.
a distance? So where?
Oh, good question.
Were you in the same city?
No, he lived in LA and I was living in Maryland and still am living in Maryland. I used to live in LA and I think we had like a year's overlap, but we didn't know each other at that time. So he
Okay.
was living in LA. Neither of us was looking for a long distance relationship. But once we met, we knew within the first 3 weeks that we were getting married. Like it was just a matter of he needed a little time to go find and buy the ring. And he proposed 3 months later.
Oh,
And
Oh,
we got
wow.
married 3 months after that.
when does your book come out?
I'm working on it.
Now,
I'm working on it. I'm trying to have it done and published in the next 6 months.
Oh, good for you. So now, okay, so you still live in Maryland. Did he move to be to you? Okay, so he moved to be in Maryland.
now was
Yeah,
he
he moved a year ago.
was he in a previous marriage?
He was married, but it was like 30 years ago.
I got you.
And he had been
30
divorced.
years ago.
Yeah, he had been divorced for about 30 years.
So is he older than you?
No, he's just 2 years. I mean, a little bit. He's 2 years older than me. but
Oh,
he's
okay.
about-
So there's no. Okay, so he just got married super young and just
Yeah.
cut it off. Okay.
Now,
That marriage didn't last, and then he was divorced for a long time. And at that point, he wasn't against marriage, but he wasn't looking for it either.
Okay.
was there I mean, because you guys had known each other online, but so when you finally met, was there? I mean, I've seen the brother. He looks like a tall guy. Looks like tall, good-looking dude. Was there some
He is.
attraction on your part?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Of course.
okay. I didn't know.
Man, right?
Say he was 6'6", because you're pretty
Is that
tall.
how tall he is? 6'6"?
Because how tall are you? You're pretty tall. How tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Yeah. Okay.
I was looking at the video. Lovely video, by the way.
Thank you.
Very
I
gorgeous.
almost want to direct people to your. If you get some strange people to go into that post, I did it. I just think
It'll happen now
we
anyway.
we talk about so much conflict between men and women on this show. It is just a pleasure to see some black love.
A good happy ending.
That happened.
Yes.
We got some people watching the show. I just want to quickly shout out
Boosie.
Nidra. I see Nidra. I see Boosie. Louis Green. What's good?
What's up, Wes?
I thank you all for checking out the show.
Yeah, this
And
is a great show.
This is a great topic, people. So if you got any questions for Freya,
Yeah, just chime in. You guys have
Chime
been
in.
awfully quiet. Usually with this like jump.
if I was talking about something salacious about what men did or women did, they'd be all over us right now.
I think people are just riveted. So I think people are very interested in the story. Okay, so now, how did you? So your husband, who was your husband today, okay, and when you explained to him your celibacy,
Oh, yeah,
how
how
did
did
he
that go?
react?
How did that go?
Well, he proposed in 3 months, so he
Yeah,
was just
he-
like
yeah,
about his
something
business.
He was very thoughtful about it. He was thoughtful about it. And
thoughtful
he
about
said,
it.
he said, yes, he said, I actually have a friend who I've known for quite some time. And she told me not too long ago that she was celibate and she had kind of explained it to me. He's like, if she hadn't told me that, I probably think you were BSing. He said, but no, I believe you. He said, and I'm cool with that. But
This
at that
is a
point,
mature brother.
I wasn't giving opportunities for, I wasn't staying over. I wasn't doing any of those things. And so he understood through my actions that I meant what I said.
And that, I think, shouldn't have to be like this, but when you showed that sort of how you respected yourself, that is how other people will treat you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing that you did. So, but let
Louis
me get right
Green's
to
like,
it.
he went for it?
After, right, somebody say, after you, now,
Louis.
I'm with it all the way up to now.
Whatever.
But after he gives you this ring, within 3 months. Could the brother at least stay over? I mean, eat some breakfast over there, anything?
Eat some breakfast.
He gave you a ring. I mean, come on now.
He would stay over. Yes, he would stay over. And he was, but because remember, we were not local.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
you
he would
guys
be
were-
visiting.
He'd fly and visit me.
I got it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But
So
always
yes,
respectful. Always respectful. We weren't. And he had told me, look, I'm not these other guys, because I told him everything. We were completely honest with each other from the very beginning. I told him everything that had gone down. He knew everything. And so he said, you know, he just reassured me, I'm not these other guys. I'm not gonna treat you like that. We'll be fine. And he was always very, very respectful.
we got the horny Louis Green asking if you had phone sex.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but
Absolutely not.
no. Yeah, you think she's gonna have phone sex and then just like not go anyway?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
here's my question. So for women who are looking to differentiate between a guy who was stringing them along and one who was serious, how did his treatment of you differ from Rio? Let's just say.
Or the Rios.
The Rios of the world. Well, I mean, in her case, it was Rio, you know?
Well, yeah.
But how
she
did
had
it
the people
differ?
trying to date her.
Right, but like I'm saying that like a guy who was stringing along versus a guy who was not. Like how did he make his intentions known to you?
His actions matched his words.
Okay.
And I found that with men, that is just an underlying theme that I don't think women really get. We
I agree with that.
want to believe with. And so we listen to them and then we go with what they say. But men who don't have intentions on marrying you, they could say that they're going to marry you all day long.
Right.
The best way to know whether they're going to marry you is if they do
Right,
it.
and their actions don't support
And
it.
if they do it in a timely manner.
Right. Well, you know,
Right? So
I'll say it's baby steps. Like, so, okay, I just got married less than a month ago. And with I know, right? Everyone's like, really?
Awesome wedding people.
yeah.
Everyone's
Wedding of weddings.
Thank you. But everyone was, surprised. But because I'm me. Anyway. So, but the thing that really differentiated him from anybody else I'd ever dated was that he was really consistent and intentional. And that was what got me to like take notice, right? So I never had to wait for a phone call. Like he never disappointed me. When I always knew like that he wanted to hang out with me. It was very clear. So when a guy, and I'm saying all this not to tell my story because this is about Freya, but for men who really want to prove their intentionality to women, it's those things that contribute. Those are the building blocks of it, right? And for women who don't know, that's what you should be looking for. Look for a man who's intentional. Look for a man who does what he says he's going to do.
They say they do.
Exactly.
And when you guys were initially early on with your husband, was he in the market? Because usually a man will tell you if he's, really,
Yeah.
let you know.
Did he have women?
Did he know he wanted to be married?
Freya, are you frozen? She might be frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we can. Okay.
Okay. I think you're right about that, Gina. And it's that intentionality, him showing me that he was about me. He did that very early on. I had not gone to LA to visit him. I used to live in LA, so I had a lot of people still in LA at that time. And when we met, he invited me out on a Monday. It was Memorial Day. We met that day. We really hit it off. He asked me to go out that Friday. And then Tuesday, he called. Wednesday, he came by. Thursday, he called. And then once we met on Friday, we didn't spend any more time apart from each other. It was like he made sure he was coming to see me every day. He made it very clear what his intention with me was.
I love this. So, see, that is somebody who was into someone.
And certain.
And for the men and women who don't get what she just said, that is a huge red flag. You know?
Yeah.
Men by nature are sort of territorial. Like, if we see something we like, we're going to
Yeah,
act.
they're like, okay,
especially,
mine.
ladies, and I don't know if you heard what she was saying. She didn't just make herself available. You got to make him do the work.
Right. He needs to do that.
And it's weird. We are hardwired to want to take care of somebody, to want to, be needed. It's a weird thing. So when some women do too much for a man, is what I always say, they devalue that. You raised your value by your, like, you treat yourself good. Hey, nobody's just going to, you set your boundaries, as you said earlier. Nobody's just going to have my time when they want my time, and you allotted time. And you know what? That makes a potential suitor, well, I better make the most of this time.
Right.
That I'm getting. I better make the most of this.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because, I mean, we have an interesting comment from Louis Green. Ron, can you highlight this comment?
We got a question from
Yeah.
Brother
Well, this
Louis.
is actually interesting. So I'll read it for those that are watching on YouTube, people who can't see. The last woman that I dated, I told her that I didn't want to have sex with her right away. I wanted to get to know her. We never kissed. It didn't work, but it felt good that we didn't have sex when I had to tell her that it was over. So that's awesome, because
That's very awesome.
when you don't have sex with someone, then you can very easily just break away, and there's no like weird lingering baggage, weirdness, and I find it.
If I could go back and talk to young Chris Levy, my youngest.
Also, there's no mind fog. So
Right.
you're not thinking about how compatible you are sexually. You're thinking about how compatible you are.
Exactly.
Right.
There's a part of it, sure, but it's not the only part, and it's not the most important part.
No.
Part. Like, once you're done having sex, what are you going to do?
So
Right. Right. That is. We got a
Yeah.
couple more minutes. We got Brian Foster in the zone coming up next
about 10.
in about 10 minutes. So I'll give out some tips about people not being into you in a minute. But that is
15
golden.
minutes, really.
What you just said.
Before we get into tips,
I
though,
wasn't doing the tips.
Okay. We have
I
about
wasn't doing
15
tips.
minutes left.
That's fine. I wasn't doing tips.
Yeah.
I was saying, not making yourself available is golden. And about setting those boundaries, and people will treat you how you treat yourself, or showing your best self, and stop doing stuff for people.
Oh my God.
I hate
Yes.
when women think they're making something better by constantly doing things for someone who didn't ask, or nor do they deserve. So I just like the way you handle all of this. I like what DeJuan Russell said, because that, as people say, what is that? And this is a telltale sign. She said, you remove sex from any relationship, what is left?
Right. And you know what? I really believe in the woman, being genuine. It can't be an act.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of women who just, I want to act like I'm not interested. But if you are really just genuinely like, look, I'm holding out until I figure out if this is a person that I want to spend any time with. And it isn't about, I'm going to pretend. It's really about what fortifies me. Like, what can I learn here from spending this time without being physical with someone, and just seeing what he does, like seeing if he pursues me.
Yeah, and that's the reason I don't like, that Steve Harvey 90-day rule?
Oh, Lord.
That's why I can't stand that rule, because it doesn't work.
I can't stand Steve Harvey, but that's a whole nother show.
I can't stand his suits, but that's a whole different.
Well, I don't like that rule specifically because it's misleading. And basically it has a lot of women like putting men on this time clock. Men have learned about this clock, and now they're just going to go occupy their time doing something else until the 90 days is up. And then they're going to come back to you and have sex with you, and they're still not really that interested in you. So it just doesn't serve the purpose. right? The purpose is that you're supposed to figure out who a person is. You're supposed to figure out if this is what you want. And if you're a believer, you're not supposed to be having sex with them before marriage anyway, right?
True.
So that was a big part of my journey, is that I was developing my relationship with God at the same time.
Good for you.
Because I was single for 12 years. I was celibate for 12 years.
So a long time.
It was a very, very,
very long time, girl.
Very long time. And it wasn't fun. You know, it wasn't, you know, but it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. I would do it all over again. But, you know, that you need time to figure out who a man is and whether he's about you. And the other thing I would say is just that I think women need to stop being afraid of scaring a man off by letting him know that she's interested in marriage. Like, if you scare him off, he needs to go anyway.
He's the wrong person.
Right. But I will.
He's not your person.
I'll add a caveat to that. I don't know. This is what I suppose. The way you just said that didn't sound off-putting. It was just a fact. But we see a lot of people. It's why I say everybody needs to go to therapy. They're angry on the inside. And you don't have that. You spoke about the Rios, and you still have a smile on your face.
Well,
and that is
okay, but
that's winning.
But she's saying she used to be angry. Okay, so
but that doesn't work.
It doesn't. But I want to know about that evolution, because that could actually help people. So
True.
When were you angry?
Oh, before I had dealt with my
We have another delay. Of course, when it gets good.
That's the second juicy question you've asked.
I know. I've asked a juicy question. There's a delay.
Gina B did her homework.
Freya, you there? I know.
Until she comes back, Gina B did homework.
I always do my homework.
Freya?
Are you there?
You faded in and out.
She froze again.
You froze again.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Okay, wait, she's back.
Can you hear me?
She's back. Yes.
Did you hear Gina's question?
I was angry before I dealt with my childhood trauma.
Okay.
Good. But I think for most people have some sort of, I'm telling you something.
But my curiosity, okay, so you were angry because of your childhood trauma, and then how did that manifest in your relationships?
I think in a lot of ways it manifested as a big chip on my shoulder. I was basically constantly filled with rage. And on a low level, it was a low, but if I exploded, like if I got provoked, then I would go from 0 to 100 in 0.06 seconds. So, you know, and of course that would be off-putting. You know, I have a mouth on me. Like that.
Yeah.
I have a very sharp tongue. And I could cut you with it hard and deep. But I had to learn to control tongue. I had to learn that everything you think doesn't need to be said. I had to learn submission. I had to learn all of those things.
You had to learn. Wait a minute. You had to learn what?
Submission.
He likes the words. He likes that word.
I'm gonna buy 2 copies of that book when it comes out.
Okay, so
power in submission.
Okay,
Thank you.
Calm down.
Wait a minute.
You said you drew the distinction between submission and subservience. Tell our audience what that means to you. Of course, it got juicy again, so she froze.
But what I said, I didn't say thank you. I said thank you for the submission, but the power in the submission.
Oh wait, she's coming back. Wait, Freya, you there? Yeah, you're coming. I see you coming back.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back. Okay, yes. Wait, kind of.
Right. Well, until we get her back, Freya, 1 second. It was what she said about the power. I wasn't trying to say, you know, obey. It was, but there is a power in that.
Okay, this is power. Wait, Freya, are you back? I think she's back. Okay, so tell us the difference in your mind between subservience.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Yes. Okay.
Okay. So subservience is just sort of allowing someone to control you, tell you what to do. it's like a slave.
Correct.
Basically.
It's a bad thing.
Submission is allowing someone to have authority over you, right? You're gonna submit to somebody. You're gonna submit to something. You're gonna submit to your boss. If you're young enough, you're gonna submit to your parents. You're going to submit, and I had to learn how to submit to God first and become obedient in that area in order for me to submit to anyone. But the key is you have to be discerning enough to figure out who you can submit to safely. I would never submit to my husband if I wasn't so secure in his love and care for me.
Exactly.
That
Yes.
makes
I love all of it. I love everything I'm hearing.
You can't submit to a narcissist, right?
Oh, hell no. Oh, my God.
That's not going to work for you. You are going to end up subservient to a narcissist.
Yes.
Right? But if you're discerning, you are opening yourself to be protected, to be covered, to be cared for, to be provided for. There's so many benefits to being able to submit to your husband. There's nothing like it. There's no match to it. The only greater is submission to God. That's it for me.
Okay.
I love it.
I love it.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I wanted you women to add to something.
Okay, go ahead.
Because, I got...
Kris got a list.
Well, she said most of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But we got a couple minutes left. And I give people flack on their own choices, right? So I would like to since I'm a man, I'm letting folks know I got a list, but I'm only going to name 5 things. I want to hear what you all would add to this list.
Okay, go for it.
When you know he's not into you.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Some of the most obvious, and I've seen these things, a guy openly flirting in front of a woman he's been dating. That's one. Huge. If he's showing up only for, 2 a.m. type calls, that is a big one. And some of the more subtle ones, if it started out with a spark and he's just spending less time with you, you don't hear from him. The fourth one is probably the second most important. He hasn't really introduced you or made his intentions known to those close to him.
Right. Yeah.
Holidays are a telltale time for, finding out if somebody's really into you or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have stories about that.
Right.
Me too.
And especially if there's infidelity involved.
Usually is. That's side piece Valentine's Day. New Year's Eve.
Oh, Jesus. New Year's Eve.
Lordy Lord.
Yes. And the last one is you just know. I mean, in your gut usually tells you something is amiss. And even if there's either communication breakdown or that person's not into you, and usually it's the latter. Right. So I was just wondering, did you, especially Freya, have anything to add to that you've seen?
Absolutely. If he's not trying to progress the relationship forward,
Right.
Gina, say this: you are the exception.
To have been with someone for so long before getting married?
I tell her that all the time.
Well, okay. So
she was the problem, though.
I was not the problem. We had timing issues, and the thing is, I was never concerned that things weren't going to progress. We just needed to wait some things out, and so I knew my timing, but other people were more concerned about my timing.
People knows,
but I knew my timing.
Right.
I knew what I was doing. But yeah, I am. You're right, though, Freya. I am the exception. Like a lot of people who have been.
You are.
Yeah, I would say that.
And the biggest part of the exception for you is that you knew your timeline and you were okay with it.
Right.
For most women, the majority of women, they want to be married. They are not the holdup. It's the.
Right. Yeah, I think she was going to say it's the men who are the
And I was going to agree 1,000%.
Yeah, that's true.
Men are risk-averse creatures. You cannot, and ladies, women, I would encourage, you got to love yourself.
100%.
More than you love the relationship.
Absolutely.
And you cannot let someone waste your time.
Exactly.
Which I don't care if you're
We gotta go.
23 or 93. You just don't have that much, and you don't know how much time you have.
You just don't know, and life is too short to waste it with a person who doesn't deserve it.
But I like again. I loved your post. I'm going to thank you now. We still got a couple of minutes, but I'm going to thank you now for joining and being so open and so honest and sharing so much. And maybe you'll convince Mr. Everything. Maybe we'll have both of you on.
Oh, that would be
at some
fun
point.
if he's open to it.
I like to see couples on here say, because couples have issues too. How to,
absolutely. Every couple has like
how
something.
you get through conflict and stuff like that and work through it.
Yeah.
And I think that is powerful. I think this has been a powerful testimony, and I thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, we're very appreciative. Thank you very much for chiming in and for being here.
1 year. Thank you.
1 year. We'll have to come back we'll give you 2 years.
No, less than that. Less than that.
It'll be 2 years in June.
That she's been married. See, she's almost married 2 years.
Yes.
No, but she's been married 2 years in June. Is what she's saying.
Well, I'm saying we'll give her the 2 years.
Right. Well, that's fine. I think we're okay.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah. She's got a great
Anything
story.
else,
Irrespective
Gina
of the time. No, I'm good. Thank you, Freya.
So, Freya, thank you for joining. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you see this later on, if you have questions, Gina B and I still go back and answer questions after, because inevitably people watch the show after we actually do it, and then they leave questions, and I go back and usually
it's him.
Usually it's a debate, but
yeah, in this case there won't be a debate, and if anyone,
it's a beautiful story.
You can tag. I don't know if you mind if people tag you if they have questions for you on this, but
do you mind that sort of thing?
That's fine.
All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you for joining the show.
They can come on my post. They can tag me. Whatever.
Yeah, her whole story is posted publicly on her Facebook page, and it's a beautiful story. So please.
And Fran, if you want to see some real entertainment, you can come back and just watch Gina and I go at it. Next week we're doing what men and women do terribly wrong in relationships. So
yes,
I'm sure
there's to be some reminiscent things for you.
She'll be picking men apart. And,
I'm an equal opportunity part picker.
You are.
Yes. So
anyway,
pick her
apart.
Anyway. All right.
My people, Kris and Gina,
you.
we out of here. Peace and love. We'll see y'all next week. Good job, Gina B.
That was fun.
I really enjoyed.
Yes.